Just let in our CTV. We do have a quorum, but it is still 6:59. Yeah, he's on, he just joined. Andrew Gregory just joined online. Hang on, he's here. Hello? Yeah. Oh, okay, I'll text it to you. Yep, bye. Let me just text it. Copy link. Oh, I thought Andrea, I didn't think you were here, Andrea. No, she's online. Can't hear you. When you go up there,
Calling to order the, what day is, Bloomsday, the day that Ulysses takes place. James Joyce makes June 16th, makes me sound very intelligent to all those listening. Monday, June 16th, Board of Library Trustees meeting. First, do we have anybody online or elsewhere for public comment?
No, I think there was, oh, Pat has something.
Pat has something. The mic is to you, Pat.
So for those who are not familiar, we've had issues again in the children's room regarding the HVAC system. So we did get in a response from a friendly yet concerned patron about hoping to hear more about the library's HVAC air conditioning issues. Disappointed to see the public library Instagram post about the children's room potentially being closed as we approach the summer. My kids love to go to the library and would hate to see the children's area closed for something like the room being too hot without other alternatives, portable air conditioners, and or relocating some children's material down to the ground floor seems like a simple solution if the HVAC situation cannot be resolved quickly. I hope these alternatives are at least discussed if facilities isn't able to resolve the problem quickly. So that was the response. And obviously we all have concerns with that, considering this is a cooling center on the hot days.
Yeah, so just, not that we have to respond to every comment that comes in, but I think it is appropriate. Facilities is working on it. It's unclear. They've called to have someone come look at it. We only close the room when it gets to 80 degrees for a sustained period. And when we just close the room, obviously we don't close the library. Olivia and her team do a great job of trying to get everybody downstairs. If there's a room available, we can absolutely use like this room. We can absolutely transfer things down here. We've also worked out a way, if needed, to have someone maybe go and grab books and do reader's advisory. Oh, you're looking for the Diary of a Wimpy Kid books. We can go grab those for you. So we try to work that out. We don't like leave the staff. The staff is still working to do their best. It's just in some situations, it's not healthy for people to be in that space. We have asked for portable fans. There are portable fans in the children's room. We've asked for portable fans in the administrative office area as well. The custodians leave the windows at night until they have to leave the building. So they stay after the building closes to do for cleaners and everything. And then they have to close those windows for security purposes at night. But usually they can get a few degrees cooler. They also leave the air conditioning on all day, every weekend, 24 hours, kind of like they did with the heat. We had the heat problem. So the children's floor does drop a little bit overnight with the rest of the building. Normally, if all 3 floors were working, the air conditioning would turn off at 9 o'clock and then come back on at like 8 o'clock or something like that in the morning. But they have it running 24/7 now. So facilities is aware of the problem and they're doing their best.
Any idea of I mean, it sounds like a very good response inside of this building, but as to the people that can actually fix it.
That we don't have any more information on since probably last Thursday. We're still waiting.
Is there any thought, you know, those portable industrial ones that have the tube that goes to a
Yeah.
window? Is there any thought to having any of those
Because
come in?
we were told because the children's room is so high.
Oh, yeah, the windows are really high.
The windows are high, but also the ceiling is high so that it's not necessarily going to help.
Oh, I see.
The incremental change isn't really effective enough.
Got it.
Is what we've been told. However, we are providing lots of iced coffees and popsicles for at least the staff. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, next week looks like the weather's going to be hot, or actually the end of this week.
Yeah, it's going to start getting warmer, so we're definitely going to be trying to follow up with facilities tomorrow.
Do they even know what the problem is, or they haven't been able to diagnose?
I don't believe they have a diagnosis yet.
Excellent, thank you. Well, I guess we'll just be, go ahead, Pat.
I
No,
just
no, please.
realized that, maybe if Thursday's the day, like maybe an update this Thursday, if you could just send it to the Bolt account so we kind of know where things are. And again, for all of us, we won't discuss it or talk about it on the email, but I think it'd be good to know,
Sure.
you know, where.
Yeah, I can definitely do a one-way communication that way to make sure everybody gets
Correct.
an update of anything that we've heard.
Thank you.
No problem, thank you. Next, are there any other public comment online or otherwise? No? Okay, moving on. We're going to do an affirmation of the Bolt Statement of Solidarity and Support for our Pride community. And I will just read a prepared statement, which is a statement of solidarity and support for our Pride community. Our public library serves all in our community, fostering an environment of respect, understanding, and belonging. Our library is proud to provide a welcoming, safe, supportive, and celebratory space for members of the LGBTQ+ community, both as patrons and as part of our staff. We recognize the diversity of our LGBTQ+ community and strive to meet their informational, educational, and recreational needs. Board of Library Trustees. To reiterate. Next item on the agenda, are there any questions or discussion on that? Nope. Moving forward is the summer programming and early literacy update. Drum roll, please.
Hi, I wanted to welcome Kelly. Kelly, I'm Andrea Fiorillo, Head of Public Services.
Hi.
Hi, everyone else. So I, every quarter, give a public services and programming update, but tonight, mostly I'm going to yield the floor to our fabulous children's, head of our children's services department, Olivia McElwain, who's going to talk about early literacy. Can't actually see up close with my glasses. It's confusing to me, but okay, so next slide, please. Just going to give a quick highlight reel of what we've already started doing in June, July, and August. I'm not going to read through all of these, but I do want to point out the punk rock aerobics, which I've been begging Olivia to bring in for the last year, and we get to do it. So that's really fun. Does anyone have questions about any of the others? Can you see it?
Is this the one, the official Boston area punk rock aerobics?
It is. It's actual punk rockers.
Fuzzy, exactly.
Yeah.
Is the
I tried
robotic,
to get Olivia to buy me a leotard. and some combat boots so I could be appropriately dressed for this, but she did not. So does anyone have questions about any of these other highlights?
Oh, I was just wondering if the robotics for teens was doing that or anything in conjunction with the high school team or anything, or any like the first robotics, or who puts that on?
I forget who's doing it. I don't think it's the high school group has come in and done programs in partnership with us before. I don't think it's them, but I'm not entirely positive. I could get back to you.
The Narcan training, who, is it the police that comes in and conducts that?
It is the public health nurse as well as the coalition for prevention. And they did it last week. 3 or so staff members took part in it, as well as the public. It was open to the public. And this is, I think, the 3rd Narcan training they've done at the library.
Okay.
Yeah, great, a really great. It was a nice packed room and they're fantastic.
Yeah, some great community partnership there. That's great.
Yes, yeah. The community health nurse has just been such a wealth of information and programming for us, and the coalition has been wonderful partners.
Great.
Okay, next slide, if no one else has any other questions. We have a few old favorites. Summer Sizzlers was just Friday night. It was fabulous. We have Vehicle Day coming up in August. This Friday night, Amy is hosting a community garden party as part of our Rooted in Reading grant. We have a new bike rally here at the library. I think that's in August as well. For the first time this year, at the end of this month, we are a venue for Porch Fest, and we're hoping that that continues on, that we'll always have bands playing Porch Fest here on the library lawn. Our teen services librarian is bringing in the pop-up cycler, which is this very cool Boston-based artist who has this whole vehicle, and we collect all these plastic things and she turns it into a community art project. So she's coming for a couple of days, and even though it was a teen-led program, it's all ages are invited to do that. We're having a story slam, and Kate, one of our children's librarians, is putting together a camp kindergarten series to help prepare kids going into kindergarten for kindergarten, which is something I think the community is going to love. Next slide, please. Friends Speaker Series in the summertime focuses on youth services. So most of the authors are YA or children's authors, with a few adult authors thrown in there. There is a live watch party for Raul III. That's the Vamos, Let's Go Read book, right? Yeah. Okay, next slide, please. Our summer reading theme is branching out in alignment with the Rooted in Reading grant, and that is across all ages. Next slide, please. We're having reading parties for all ages, readathons for kids entering 1st through 6th grade, and they're all themed parties. They're all here in the community room or out on the lawn, and there will be books here that kids can pick up. They can bring their own book, they can snack and do activities. Next slide, please. And for teens and adults, we have these hip little silent reading parties, except most of the hip ones are actually in bars and restaurants, and we're slightly less hip than that. But we do have our own themed parties where people come with a book or pick one up here, read together, and then take some time and discuss what they're reading with their neighbors. Next slide, please. Okay, this is a very loaded slide, but we have, for teens and adults, we have a little bit of a theme beyond the branching out where we're doing, right now we're starting a cartooning workshop upstairs, first of a series. We have a writing workshop, a storytelling and public speaking workshop, and then a story slam. And on your right side of the screen, that's all of the teen programs for summer reading. So that's kind of all I have so that you can hear from Olivia more, but do you have questions before I sign off? Okay. please welcome Olivia McElwain. Oh yeah, you need this. Sorry. Wake up, buddy. You just died on me. That's true, you don't.
Actually, while we're waiting, maybe Olivia, I don't know if this is built into your thing, but could you introduce yourself a little bit about who you are, how long you've been here, what your background is?
Sure. I'm Olivia McGowan. I'm the head of Children's Services. I've been here for 6 years. I started as a children's librarian, and now I'm a librarian too. And I have I have 2 master's degrees, one in children's literature and one in library science. I don't actually need it. It's fine.
While you're figuring that out, I just want to say this is really great. This is laid out differently than it has been in previous years.
So this is. So this.
Nope, green light.
What I did was I downloaded the PDF from our new events calendar, and then I played around with it in Adobe, and that's what I created.
Yeah, it's really easy to read and follow. Like how I know it used to be bucketed by sort of children, teens, adults, but this is great to have it just by a straight calendar.
Thank you.
Michelle.
Michelle worked really hard on it.
My money was on the Canva training that I saw at the end of the director's report. And I was thinking that was playing.
No, it's not Canva, but I will say though that in our effort to be more sustainable, we are not printing a lot of these, with the exception of the summer programming. Because the summer programming is such a busy time and people just want something that will take them through the full summer. We've made a very concerted effort to only print out very few of these. We make the PDF available to every service desk so that if somebody comes in, they can print it out or we can email it. But we are trying to reserve our large printing to really the one time per year. And it came out beautifully.
This is so awkward. Okay. So I'm here to talk about early literacy programs at RPL, some of our most successful programming, as you'll see. If you go to the next slide. So what happens in an RPL story time? On my left, I guess the screen's left, we have a visual calendar of what happens in the room, and we do that for kids with on the autism spectrum or kids with learning processing disorders. We learned that from Ashley Waring, one of our former librarians, that this should just be included in all story times because it helps kids process transitions a lot better if they know what's coming every single story time. So we use this in all of our story times. And then we always say it's okay to move around. It's always okay to take a break. We ask people not to talk or have conversations and save snacks for the end. And then we always say that grown-up participation matters the most because you guys are your child's first and best teacher. And we really rely on you to practice what we're doing at the front of the room. And so at every single story time, every single one, even if it's a 10-minute story time, a 15-minute story time, or 30-minute story time, all of these things happen. So early literacy skills, early math skills, fine motor skills, gross motor skills, social emotional learning, community recognition, confidence building, and caregiver bonding. We hit all of those every single time because it's very easy to do caregiver bonding because you're with your grown up. Confidence building is you just come every week and you learn your new skills. Community recognition is the people in the room with you. Social emotional learning is super easy because most children's picture books all have elements of that. Gross motor skills, we jump up and down a lot, like a lot. Fine motor skills are a lot of finger plays, itsy bitsy spider, all of that. Early math skills, we always include some kind of game that includes math in our story times. And then early literacy skills is the whole story time. So next slide. Our regular story time season is September to April. And that's kind of weird because a lot of libraries do it throughout the year. We just are too busy in the summer to have story times every week. So we really focus on large drop-in story times in the summer, but also we see a huge drop-off in attendance in May because it's really beautiful out. Reading has beautiful parks. Kids love the park. So we try to accommodate that as well as we really want to focus on the elementary schoolers because we don't see them during the school year that much, but we see them a lot in the summer. Next slide. This was our story time schedule for this season. So we partnered with 2 groups, North Suburban Child Resource Network. On Mondays, they had 2 classes. And then Mandarin Storytime is a local moms group that came together. Well, that's okay. And asked us if they could host a Mandarin Storytime because they saw a need in the community. That's okay. Sorry. I need to breathe into that. And they see over like 60 people at those story times every week, which is awesome. We used to partner with them. We used to help them lead. And then we realized like 2 months into it, they really didn't need us anymore. So they run it on their own. We partner with them from time to time, which we'll see later. And then on Mondays, our library assistant, Dina, once a month, she does a theme story time. So she does cooking up a story time, which is they actually bake in the children's room when there's like air conditioning and it's not too hot. But they read a book about a certain dish and then they bake the dish in the children's room. And then she does Dribble Drabble, where they read a book and then they do an art piece. Or she did Sticks and Stories the last 3 months, where they go to Matera Cabin and they read a book and then they take a trail walk through Matera Cabin. And then Tuesday Treasures and Wednesday Wishes, that's me and Kate's story times. Those are registered. We see 25 families at those every week, and you register for a 6-week series, and then we have 2 weeks off, and then there's a new 6-week series, and then we have 2 weeks off, and that's to accommodate the amount of people that want to sign up. And Baby Time runs the same way. It's 6 weeks and then 2 weeks off, but it's just for pre-walking kids, because once they start walking, you lose them. It's a lap sit, so it's at 6:30 p.m. at night because we try to accommodate working families as well. But it's a lap sit, so we really can't have walkers in the room. And you'll see as the Baby Time goes on that they all become walkers. So it becomes a toddler story time by the end of the year. And then on Fridays and Saturdays, we have drop-in events because we see over 100 people at most of these. So we have Play-Doh-Palooza, Big Body Play, Babies Boogie, and tons of concerts. And on Saturdays, we have Jumping Beans Family Story Time, which usually sees 80 to 100 people. Next slide. And then our out of season storytime events. So we just finished up Family Storytime at Memorial Park. We saw like 40 to 60 people at both of those on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It was a lot of fun, except when it rained. And then we have Treats and Beats in June and July, which was supposed to be in the children's room, but will now be in the program or in the community rooms down here. That's at Wednesdays at 6:30 again to accommodate working families. And there will be treats. There'll be popsicles, which is fun. And then we have one-off. So we have Teddy Bear Picnic, Rockabye Beats is coming back, and of course Camp Kindergarten. All right, so this is the greatest debate in children's librarian history is registered story times versus drop-in story times. So they both have pros and cons to them, but these are just the pros. So registered story times, they build community within group dynamics. They create trust with the repetition of the same librarian and same group each week. It's like a school setting. You can focus on building up on those skills. You can have one-on-one time with the kids. And it's early literacy based with like entertainment kind of threaded throughout. It's really kind of a school setting. And then drop-in accommodates much larger crowds and non-Reading residents. We see a ton of Stoneham, Saugus, Melrose, what's another one? Linfield.
Really?
We see a ton of those patrons at those story times. Extroverted friends can really shine at drop-in story time. They'll be at the front of the room or in your lap, depending on what they want. And we focus more on family literacy because it's just too big of a story time, too many people. So we really focus on like the adults in those story times so that they're practicing what we're doing at the front of the room. And that one is entertainment based because we do have to be like clowns trying to keep their attention for 30 minutes. But we weed early literacy or thread the early literacy practices throughout. Next slide. So this year we had Peter Sheridan once a month. He's a fan favorite. We recently found out that he's been doing this since 1997. Yeah, I didn't know that. We had Music with Maren Matoko twice. That she had huge crowds at both of those. And then we had Music and Movement with Julie Stepanak, which is more like a story time concert. She does stories and music. Boogie with Rockabye Beats, which is a bilingual concert. He does Spanish and English. And then we had an RCC grant this year, and we brought in Grammy Award winner Alistair Mook for spring break. The next slide. And then these are some of our like biggest hits for themed story times. So we have one-off story times. Trick or treat story time is so our friends can practice like what trick or treating is before they actually go out and meet strangers. And that had 112 people this year. We had a baby prom, which was my favorite. That's Miss Carrie. She's dressed up as a snowman, and the kids did not like it. But it was a prom, so they danced, they dressed up, they took pictures, and they got to wear, if they celebrate Christmas or New Year's, they got to wear their outfits to prom. And then we had Sparkly Storytime this year, 2 authors who wrote Miss Rita Mystery Reader and a drag artist, and we had 68 attendees at that. And Lunar New Year Storytime was where we partnered with Mandarin Storytime. So it was 2 Storytimes, Jumping Beans and Mandarin together, and that one had the biggest audience with 131 attendees. Next slide. And then we always have special guests at Storytime. So we've had Albert from the Office of Equity and Social Justice. Tanya was at our Trick or Treat Storytime this year from Coalition for Prevention and Support. We've had Veteran Services, the Fire Department, the Municipal Light Department, and the Police Department, including our dog friends at the Police Department. Next slide. And this was our overall attendance. So overall, we had 5,735 early literacy program attendees from September to April. And our biggest one was Saturday Jumping Bean story time. Those are just the numbers, so I don't have to read them off, but so you can go to the next slide. And we have like small stories that we wanted to share. So 2 of our Wednesday Wishes family this year, they met up for a trip to Stone Zoo after story time ended on a Wednesday at 10 a.m. when story time used to be, and they used a museum pass. So they kept their routine going, they made friends, and they used library services that we offered. Kate often gets recognized around town from kids as old as like 15 that used to be at her story times. Our baby storytime group from the 2023 season, they still meet every Tuesday at the library, which is very sweet. And their kids are now toddlers, so they're a lot, which is awesome. And then Lara was a Tuesday baby time baby. And when her brother was 2 weeks old, the library was their first outing together. And my first story time was Countdown to Kindergarten in 2019, and those kids are now going into 5th grade. And they come to our tween programs. So I've known them since they were preschoolers, and now they're tweens. And the final slide. And why is storytime important? It's important because it offers adults and kids a chance to meet their neighbors, express themselves in a safe space, and hear about experiences outside of their own for the first time. We might be a child's first introduction to a school environment or even their first trip in the outside world after being born, like Lara's brother. But by creating these spaces for kids to be able to jump, sing, dance, and read, we are fostering a love of reading and hopefully inspiring them to be lifelong library users. And that's it. Do you guys have any questions?
It's great. Yay.
Super impressive numbers. Awesome.
Yeah.
So great.
It's great. After having attended them, I believe they are busy.
I'll
Yeah,
just
you
add,
were the Mara Matoko one.
That one was great.
I'll just say I knew, knowing about the numbers, but it's great to have the data and the analytics. That was impressive. I didn't realize the continuity of the setup of the program for each one.
Yeah.
I think that's very impressive. I didn't know that, so thank you.
I just said 2 things. Number 1, Peter Sheridan also used to be a custodian at the library.
Wow.
Yeah, we
And
No
the
way.
other thing is a little bit of what, adding to what Pat said is, yes, we do have visiting storytellers and story readers, and they usually get a quick lesson from our staff. I do think it's really important to call out that there are story times and then there are early literacy story times that are in a curriculum. And I think that's really important to realize that we do get people who say they just want to volunteer at the library and read stories, and that's great.
Mhm.
And here are the things you need to learn and understand about child development for the particular age that you're working with. And that can be everything from those things that Olivia listed that they do at every single story time to things that whether you're a walker or a not walker or entering school or you've entered school. So the amount of work our staff do in the children's department in understanding the social, emotional, intellectual, and physical development of children is constantly ongoing because they're constantly learning more and more, from verbal development to how kids read, to listening, to getting along with other kids in a supervised or unsupervised environment. So I guess it's just a shout out to the amount of continuing education this team does, and it crosses over into the tweens and teens. And I could argue that we could probably even cross it over into helping our adults with their social emotional skills. Perhaps those silent reading parties are good. But I think it's really important to understand that it's not just a matter of buying some books and sitting down and reading. These people are very skilled and they're very knowledgeable. And it's a really fantastic team.
What Amy said is absolutely right, but also one of the things that our children's librarians do is they model to caregivers how to interact with their children to develop their language skills, but also just to express their love and their affection. And not everyone has that background, so that's such an added value. And then the other thing that happens in our baby times and in our toddler story times is we really create community for new parents and people that are new to the area. And Olivia told stories a little bit about this, how those families and parents continue to meet up afterwards. But you know, for new families or new parents, it's often really a lifeline to come to the library and make those connections before school starts. So they do a fabulous job.
Does anyone online have any questions or comments? Nope.
Nope,
Thank you
all
guys very much.
excellent.
Excellent. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the discussion on the policy of lending to residents of municipalities with decertified libraries.
So I'll just, the discussion can be brief or tabled again. We did not have a full board last time. We did talk briefly about this, and if you can see from the minutes. Stoneham did receive funding. They will open. They will probably need to apply for a waiver. We did find out Linfield passed their override, so they will not need to apply for a waiver. So the urgency of this discussion has sort of come down. We won't know about, assuming that they get a waiver, Stoneham, and nothing will have to happen with Stoneham for at least a year. So it's something to keep in the back of your mind. I did have, there was a super important piece of paper that I was going to bring down with me that I didn't, but hang on just a second. They did a survey, I think it was Kate Merlin. They did do a survey in the state to find out about decertified libraries. And if you bear with me for just a second. So surveys results, they did do a survey of the results of how policies and practices around serving patrons from decertified municipalities. About 1/2 of the libraries responded, 180 out of 367. And so it's actually quite good. 63% have a blanket policy, 22% have no policy, and 16% are on a case-by-case basis. Those with the policy, of the 63%, policy about lending, 7% continue to lend, 1% charges for lending, 73% denies borrowing privileges. And then there were some other no's, like on the case-by-case basis, about 19%. If you remove the 27 others, basically 9% do offer borrowing, 1% charges, and 90% deny borrowing services. So basically, of those with policies, 90% deny borrowing process. So they didn't do anything about other services. It was strictly about borrowing books, and that has changed because certain things like it doesn't include Boston Public Library, which is a different animal altogether because they're the Library of the Commonwealth, and it doesn't address overdrive. So those are things that didn't exist when most of these libraries started their policy. So that's just the landscape that we're in right now.
So what is the action we take on, I guess, just discussion, there is no action to take now that the importance of this has definitely decreased, right?
So
Yeah, go ahead.
this is the operative policy as it
This is the
This
one.
is the operative
we have
policy,
here.
and it can stay exactly as it is. It's just been brought to your attention as something we don't traditionally review every year.
Okay.
And it's also something that in terms of, there could be definitely, I'm sure there will be staff input, but it is something that is really about the trustees' decision and the financial stewardship and care of how our libraries and neighbors. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention, and you can think about it. People could propose changes. Staff don't have any specific changes right now that I know of.
Well, I know it was discussed at the meeting I wasn't at. I mean, I like having this policy. I think it's important. I'd be open to refining the
Mm.
in-library use, not the circulation, because we just heard the difference between sign up and when you get people from outside the town. But if that's not an issue right now, I wouldn't worry about it. But if it becomes an issue, I'd be open to expanding that. But as this is written, I like that we have this policy personally.
How do they address overdrive? How does BPL or anybody address overdrive? How do you deal with it?
In Noble just recently updated their policy. It involves math, so bear with me. When you decide to deny services, circulating services, you have to send a letter to Noble. If Noble receives such letters from more than 50% of their libraries, the decertified library is cut off wholly from overdrive because it's either on or it's off. So having said that, I think there are some things for an overdrive advantage where you might be able to have some things like, so overdrive advantages where we buy things where Reading people get priority. So there may be some flexibility with that. But the base, which is the majority of money that we pay to Noble for overdrive, goes to the whole Noble collection.
Yep.
So Noble says unless there's more than 50% of the libraries that are saying no, overdrive is going to stay open for everybody. So
Right, so that means that the onus is on every individual library to send a specific,
letter to deny service, yes. And it only has to be over 50%. And as we just heard, 63% of libraries do have one. And of those, 90% of them are denial of lending privileges. So we haven't tested it yet in Noble, but it's something that could possibly come up. And it's possible they'll change their policy as well. That was voted on by the membership in May.
yeah, having a policy is different though than sending a letter, right? People would have to take further action in order
Well,
to deny.
the requirement from Noble is that anytime we want to deny a service, so if we, I don't know, just didn't like Wakefield, all of a sudden and wanted to cut off Wakefield, they have to have it in writing. They have to have something in writing, whether it's a decertification issue or whether it's, I don't know, I can't think of another issue, but if for some issue we decide to block privileges for a portion of our collection or whole of our collection, then we have to send a letter in writing to Noble. That's always been a policy.
Well, I guess we just keep abreast of it. If anything changes, we can revisit. There's nothing, I don't have to table anything because there's nothing really to table.
I just want to add, if we get to the point where we need to revisit this, because this is happening to a library in our immediate vicinity, I think my recommendation would be we look at programs where you have to sign up, that we consider that as part of this mix. Right now, I love that it's open. I mean, we get to go to other libraries and take advantage of their programming, and people can come to ours, and it feels very fair and a good use of taxpayer dollars across the Commonwealth. But if there's a town that isn't able to contribute, I just want to make sure we're really thinking about our taxpayer dollars. And, maybe it's something like Reading has first, like 48 hours ahead of everybody else to sign up or something like that. I wouldn't
Yeah.
want a program to sit empty or have seats and not have them have the opportunity to join in, but I think that we should then be letting our residents have first. Something to consider.
Yeah, that's
Definitely.
definitely something to consider.
Anybody online have any questions, thoughts, concerns? Not anybody here? Any other discussion? Excellent. We'll move on to the vote for election of officers for the next year. How do we do that? Forgot, is there a?
You would take motions from
We
the
just take
floor.
motions?
Unfortunately, everybody showed up, so you can't just sort of elect the person who did.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly. Do we have any motions for any nominations so far? I'd be happy to stay as chair, though it is my election year, and I know we have a somewhat tentative. What is the policy for that?
there is no policy. It has been a practice it's a practice started by the select board, but it is nowhere written down that it's required. The only thing that would happen is that should that person choose not to run or not be elected, then for the April May and June meetings, you'd have to have a pro tem chair or vice chair or secretary, depending on which position was held.
Makes sense.
On that point, I'll just say, I don't think it's an issue the way it is in the select board. So I personally don't care. The only other thing I would say that we could get in a habit of, I don't think we should follow a strict plan. But I think if somebody is interested in being chair, doing time as a vice chair or doubling up and learning from that can sometimes be helpful.
Makes sense.
But other than that, no preferences.
I nominate Cappy to stay as chair.
Just a reminder, you need to do roll call votes.
Second.
Okay, well, this is odd having a roll call vote for myself. Anyway, roll call vote. I will start. Are both Andrews online? Discussion.
Gregory is.
What?
Gregory
Okay.
is.
All right. excellent.
Grimes is too.
Okay, excellent. Is there any discussion? If not, I guess we will do a roll call vote. I will start with the Andrews online. Andrew Grimes,
Yes.
Andrew Gregory,
Yes.
Monette,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes.
and I will abstain. Oh, Kelly. Sorry, where's Kelly? It's Kelly, excuse
Yeah.
me.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Kelly. I will abstain just to be contrary. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Next, we have nominations for vice chair. I nominate Pat Egan to continue. Do I have a second? Oh, I can nominate, right? Absolutely, great.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yeah. I'll start a discussion.
Come on, Pat.
While willing and quote able, I would also, I'm also happy to let, if anyone else, Kelly, Andrew, or somebody else is interested in the year, I mean, I'm happy to do it, or I'm happy to let other people get in the role. So I really, I'm fine either way.
Good point. Does anybody have any interest online? Kelly, Andrews?
I think I'd rather get a little more experience first.
Fair enough. Any other discussion? If not, we will move to a roll call vote.
Wish I could, but my schedule's just so erratic at this point.
Makes perfect sense. I completely understand. I'm going to start with Kelly, so I do not forget.
Yes.
Andrew Grimes,
Yes.
Andrew Gregory,
Yes.
Manette.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Pat. He's a yes. Welcome back. Finally, for secretary. Oh, we have the nominator.
I nominate Andrew Grimes.
I will second that wholeheartedly. Anyone else have any interest too? Or any discussion? No, I will proceed with roll call vote. Kelly?
Andrew
Yeah.
Grimes, do you have a
Yeah,
comment?
exactly.
or
It
is
was
that
very
okay with
quiet.
you?
Very quiet.
It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
And we choose you. Roll call vote. Start with you again, Kelly.
Yes.
Andrew Gregory,
Yes.
Manette,
Yes.
Pat.
Yes.
I'm a yes, and Andrew Grimes.
Yes.
Welcome back. And that is that. Next item, thank you all for your service last year and welcome back. Next item on the agenda is the fiscal year 26 trustee meeting dates.
All right, so I'm just want to tell you, this is a suggested meeting schedule for FY '26, which runs from July 25 to June 26. Meetings are held on the second Monday of every month unless there are conflicts with regular holidays, certain religious holidays, or a town meeting. The board does not have to meet 12 times per year. In the past, the board has elected just to cancel certain meetings due to a known lack of quorum, which is sometimes like in July or August or something like that. But you can approve all of these. I did find out from Laura Jem this year that we submit these to the town clerk and the town manager, but at any time, the chair or in lieu of chair, the vice chair can change it. So it's just mostly so you all can put it on your calendars.
And correct me if I'm wrong, we're just voting on the entire calendar. We don't have to individually vote for each,
Correct.
because that would be fun. Do we have any discussion on the policy as written, or a motion to change or amend?
Looks good to me.
Looks good to me too. Anyone else? Do we have a motion to accept?
I'll move to accept the meeting dates and holiday schedule, or
I second.
Excellent. Roll call vote, starting with you, Kelly.
Yes.
Andrew Grimes,
Yes.
Andrew Gregory,
Yes.
Lynette, Bridget,
Yes.
Pat? I'm a yes. List of scheduled meetings are accepted as written in the packet. Next item on the agenda is the CY26 holiday schedule. It's also a vote.
Yes, that is a vote. So what you have in front of you is a list of the typical closings. I have gone back in various years, and there are definitely years where this schedule has been different, but this has been the schedule for a while. The trustees may use this as a guide, but should feel free to make changes, add or delete closing dates, or to change actual closing times. Notes for your reference. If there is a holiday on a Saturday, a recognized holiday on a Saturday, we are closed on that Saturday, but we generally observe that on a Friday. This is something that's unique to the library. It doesn't per se, the state doesn't necessarily do it, and the town hall doesn't do it because they're closed on Fridays anyway. So it doesn't really affect them. Other than Easter, if there's a Sunday, which we're closed on, but we don't close the Monday afterwards. Otherwise, if a holiday does fall on a Sunday, actually, I don't know that Easter is considered a federal holiday, but if a federal holiday falls on a Sunday, we're closed on the Sunday and it's observed on the Monday. And the town does do that, and the state guidelines say that as well. We have 3 eve closings. That's the eve before Thanksgiving, before Christmas, and before New Year's. As a guide, if that eve falls on a day where we're open for 12 hours from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., we close at 1. So that's a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. If we're only open from 1 to 9 or 9 to 5, such as a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, typically we would close for the full day. And I'll just add, because I do report this, the most common staff requests, this is not public requests, staff requests are being closed on Mother's Day Sunday and being closed the day after Thanksgiving. And about 50% of libraries are closed the day after Thanksgiving. The other 50% are open. So that's just information for you. But this is the presented closings for 2026.
What is library attendance on those days?
The Friday after Thanksgiving is usually it's about equal to what we normally get. I think because people are home. Actually, that whole weekend is usually kind of busy. We also get kids home from college, and they just maybe some of them are getting ready for midterms depending on which school they're at. Some of them are closing in on finals depending on what school they're at. It's not like overwhelming. We don't do any programming that weekend. So it is a skeleton crew. It's the minimum. We don't require people to take it. We just need to have our minimum number of staffing like we would on a Saturday or Sunday. Mother's Day, I can't really tell you. I didn't check that. I should have.
Okay. And just curious, I didn't go back and look, and I should have, sorry. Is this any different than what we did in 2025?
No, except for the fact that the Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve are on a Thursday. So we would be closed the option there would be open like 1 to 5, which nobody's, you know what I'm saying?
It's Thursdays, we only open at 1 o'clock.
Only open 1. So we're closed for the full 8 hours on the Thursday before Christmas Eve and on Christmas Eve and on New Year's Eve.
Well, and
Those are definitely traditionally very slow days, and that actually has been a debate of whether Well, if we were open to if we were open for 8 hours, would more people come in? Is it even worth opening if you're only open 9 to 1? And again, different libraries do different things. Some libraries close for the whole weekend. Very few of them do, but I've seen libraries close for the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend.
Also, July 4th falling on a Saturday, that's what you were saying, July 3rd. you would close.
Yeah, so we would close on the 3rd so that the staff, the Monday through Friday staff could benefit from that federal holiday.
Does anyone have any questions or amendments to the list of library closings as listed here? I'm okay with going with,
Just have one other question.
yeah, please do.
What have you seen as, are any of these days, any in particular that you hear from the community, where the community is wondering, why are you closed that day? Have you received any of that feedback?
No, I still get, why are you closed Thursday morning? But that's been 25 years. No, I don't particularly hear, mostly it's the transitions. So like, oh, you're open Sundays. Oh, you're closed Sundays. So usually it's the transitions. We often, I think, and Michelle, you can correct me if you're wrong, but my feeling is over the last couple decades, we do see more people switching libraries, like meaning people are really like, okay, Reading's open on Sundays, but Stoneham isn't. So, I'll go to there on Sundays. But Wakefield's open Sundays in the summer too. So, I like their reading room in the summer, but so the people shop around for library services. So it's hard to say whether some of the comments come from community members or not. But in general, we get mostly positive feedback. Oh, it's so nice that you're open today. Oh, it's so great that you have a story time in the evening, or you have a story time on a Saturday. It's usually positive.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Do we have a motion to accept?
Move that we accept the 2026 library closings calendar.
Second,
Roll call vote, starting with Kelly.
Yes.
Andrew Grimes,
yes.
Andrew Gregory,
Yes.
Monette,
Yes.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Motion passed to accept the 2026 library closings as written in our packet and as same as last year. Next item on the agenda is the financial report. Passing it to Amy.
Okay, so financial report. Well, we're doing well. We will return probably 1% of our salary. And I think we'll probably spend down most of our expenses. I'll do an end of the year supplemental spending report and see where we landed on gift spending, state aid spending, and trust spending. We do spend these last few weeks madly looking at every single bill that comes in. So to that end, I just want to mention, we're doing a warrant this week. It should be available Wednesday. There's a holiday Thursday. Because of the Juneteenth holiday, and then again, we're gonna have a July 4th holiday, some of the dates and deadlines are sort of off a little. The town itself does warrants every single week. To make your life easier, we only usually do them every other week. However, from June and July, occasionally we will have warrants every week. And if sometimes they're very small, and Megan can email them to you for approval. They don't necessarily require the full. And they're at this point, it's going to be things like the 3 Ingram books that came in and at $27.95, we got to get that bill paid. Also in July, you may see 2 warrants, one for fiscal year 26 as we kick that off, and then the ending of fiscal year 25. Excuse me. That's just to let you know, particularly Kelly, I know this is sort of your first round with it, and those warrants can be overwhelming. But as I said, normally we'll try and do it every 2 weeks, but from now until the mid-July, you may have one every week, and Megan will get it out to you. That's really all I have on the financial report. We did receive some nice gifts. The Reading Lions Club every year gives us. Yeah, and then we had some gifts in honor of Cherry. Actually, as a little side note of that is we did have an ice cream party to which we invited a lot of, you all were invited, and we invited friends and other folks, and we invited alumni staff, which we had a good showing, and we talked about it, and we think that going forward, maybe we'll call it a cherry on top or something like that. We would like to do an ice cream social once a year to which we would invite old and new trustees, old and new staff, and have staff have it and just have an ice cream party to celebrate it. Because it was really nice to kind of catch up with some of those familiar faces. So
It's a
it
nice
might be
idea.
I
something.
love
to-
that idea.
Yeah.
It
nice
actually
idea.
wasn't that expensive either, so bonus.
Is that on the terrace?
Oh, we could do it on the terrace, yeah.
Let's change that. Let's make it ridiculous.
No, yeah, we actually just did it here in the community room. It's big enough that we probably couldn't do it on the patio, but maybe if there's a new terrace outside, we could do it outside. So that would be great.
Are the Tonys available that are, the 64 Tonys purchased by the Women's League?
I don't know if they're cataloged yet. I know they were purchased.
Nice.
What does that
They're
mean?
Probably, they might be. They know they're hot items, so they do try to process them, but it's
I'll
a
let
lot.
my
I mean,
kid check out 64.
I was gonna say
you know what I'm saying?
64, processing 64 items like that is it does take a little time, so appreciate the patience there.
What's a Tony?
Tony is a little, usually, what would you call it? Like character, like a Disney character or something. It has a little chip in it with a bunch of encoded, very high quality sound and stories and whatnot. And there's a little box that you buy, of course, that you charge, and you stick the Tony on top and the programming plays through the speaker.
Okay.
So you get Elsa, you get a bunch of Disney characters, and kids.
They read the
love it.
book.
Yeah.
They basically read the book, yeah.
It reads books, plays stories, plays games. My kids adore them and hoard them and hide them, and we find them under the couch.
Well, and you can see we get 64 for $1,000, so they're not cheap.
No, they're
It's
not. Not at
not
all.
a paperback book, so something very,
Very easy to lose.
Amy, in the snapshot,
Mhm.
I noticed the locker use was way down.
yeah, I don't know. I'm going to check into that. I don't know why that was down. I know the AMH was down for a little while. I don't know if it was just a glitch, but I noticed that as well.
Yeah, does the locker use spike on any day of the week? I mean, because if it was.
No, that's good.
weekends,
You know,
it's
I don't
very
know. I
obvious
shouldn't
why
say I
it's
don't know. I
down.
shouldn't say no. I actually don't know. It's a good question. I think it's a great question for Val. She looks at a lot of, statistics and things. It also just may be another time to push for it, especially now with it being lighter and people being like, oh, maybe I do want to go to the library at 9:30 at night. Because I just came off my patio, so maybe I could go pick up that book. And we're closed Sundays, so I do think it might be a time to maybe do a little extra push on it. And I'm looking at Michelle.
Yeah, maybe it's 51.
Oh, not 15? You think it was 15? Maybe I put down the wrong number. That's the other option, is I put down the wrong number. I will check into that one.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't broken again.
No, it is not broken. It is
Okay.
not broken.
Okay, great.
That I can say. And Megan's writing it right down. Amy, check locker transactions.
Wasn't broken the other day.
Um,
Any discussion, thoughts further?
Yeah, so
Mention?
just really quickly, I don't need to go too much through the director's report because Andrea very nicely talked about a lot of the stuff that we're doing or that we did. I think I do want to say that I've already seen people going out onto the patio, which has been nice.
Patio looks great.
And if you haven't seen it, I don't know if Mona, if you got up to see it, but it looks really, really sweet.
Yeah, I went up to see it before this meeting, and it does look really, really great. My one piece of feedback is there any more money to buy like 2 Adirondack chairs?
Yeah, we could. Well, yes, we have gift money, so we can do that. That pretty much maxed out the Rooted in Reading budget money,
Okay.
but we can absolutely do that. I had put aside some money thinking we might put some down out here, but I think it's worth putting more chairs up there just to kind of get people using it.
Yeah,
So
I mean, there seems like there's plenty of room for.
I was going to say, I'll double check with Megan White, the planting person, to make
Mhm.
sure that it's not going to get in the way of any of her.
How is it like It's going to be at high 90s in a couple days. How is it up there when it's hot out?
Well, today it was cooler than it was inside. It was cooler outside than it was inside. We don't have, and that is on the list to get, is an umbrella for the table, for the big table. So we would get something like we have just out here, which is pretty big. I think that's got to be a 12-foot, a 12-foot umbrella in terms of span. So in terms of diameter. So we would get something like that would provide as much shade as we could and just put it up and down during the day. It does get hot with, for like, I'd say from like 11 a.m. to 2 or 3 p.m. until it just starts going down, the sun starts going down, and then it gets a little shade on that side. So,
Makes sense. It looks really nice.
and the more plants we put up there, actually, I don't want to say the cooler it will be, but the more moisture there will be up there. So it might help.
There's some tomatoes out there. They'll love it.
And just as a side note, there's a planter out here that's growing a bunch of pumpkins. They left a pumpkin in there over the winter time, and so those are all volunteers.
It
So
will take over that entire area.
it will take out the entire area.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of sweet. But other than that, not much on the director's report. It has May was a busy month, and I say that knowing that June is an even busier month. I will point out that, yes, this Friday, just speaking of ice cream, we will having our community garden party, a Green Communities Information and Education Fair. We did not get as many folks responding as we wanted to, but we have a fair showing. We have the Trails Committee coming, and the Town Forest Committee will be there. We have a beekeeper coming. We have someone from the Pollinator Project, UMass Amherst Extension. We have there's like 1 or 2 other people, and then we'll have our own Busy Bees table for our volunteers that are doing such a great job. I don't know if you've walked by out front, but we have some people that are coming to weed and to water, and it's looking really nice out front
it looks
and
really
along
good.
the side. It's
Compared to like last year.
as compared to the last 6 years. It's looking really good. But we definitely would love to have more volunteers, whether it's just someone coming in and watering or doing a little weeding.
Interior plants look really good too. That's our.
So EnviroGreen, that's the other thing I want to mention is EnviroGreenery, as part of their deal with us, they put in some informational things. So if
Yeah, I
you
saw
go
it.
to,
With the-
yeah, they don't have every single plant, but they have some of the bigger plants, which is just to really, we were talking to them about, this is our goal, is to encourage people to learn about the plants. You know, not only it's good for the air, it's good for your mental health, but you know, do you know what a fishtail palm is, or things like that. So they're doing a good job. They come in every 2 weeks.
I didn't until I saw it in the front lobby on the way in about an hour ago.
Yeah. And then as Andrea mentioned, will be a Porch Fest menu. That's where we're actually quite excited about. And the final thing is, just even today, I spoke to Activitas about this, if you want to relook at the boards over here. And I do need to check in with the foundation as to how the finances will go, whether they're giving us the money directly or whether they want to be billed. But they actually hope to go out for bid for this project, maybe the week after July 4th. It's dependent on approval from the procurement and from the town engineering, but they could go out for approval as early as July, which means conceivably construction could start as early as late August or early September. So if you're interested, there's some pavers as you're entering the building. There's some pavers down on the sidewalk. So for some color choices, there's basically tannish and there's grayish, and then there's a combination of tannish and grayish. So those are concrete pavers, and they have like a lifetime warranty or something. So it's very, very sturdy.
Was there good attendance at the community meeting at the end of May? Like, did neighbors come?
We had more neighbors come than the first meeting. So I'd say there were about 4 neighbors there. And then we had a representative from the foundation that came, and they were all very pleased with what they saw. And I know that Jake went and hand delivered and talked to people. So they basically had their opportunity. And when I look at I was going through the other day and looking back at the survey that we did and the feedback that we've had. And I think we've definitely done, I think, a very good, thorough job of making sure that the neighbor, and because there's no lighting. Oh, that's the other thing I should mention is we do not have to go before the CPDC for a site review. the specifications and scope of the project were such that it could be just receive an administrative review, which is by the town planner. And we're not doing any lighting changes, and we're not, and it's the actual paved covered space within or at the boundaries of what would require a minor site plan review from the CBDC. So the chair of CBDC and the town planner looked over it and gave administrative approval for the project as it is. So that's why it's able to kind of move forward a little more quickly than they thought. So it doesn't have to go through a public meeting process or hearing. So it's been looked at by a lot of eyes.
Thank you.
And that's pretty much all I have.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, as always. I believe the next thing is the approval of the May 12th meeting minutes. Do we have any discussion, corrections, thoughts, concerns, motions?
Move to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Okay.
Roll call vote, starting with you, Kelly.
Yes.
Andrew Grimes.
Yes.
Andrew Gregory.
Yes.
Annette.
Yes.
Pat.
Abstain.
Oh, look at you. Oh, I guess.
You weren't
Yeah,
here.
I wasn't here. I have to abstain too, but we still have a quorum, so motion passes. All right, excellent. We have some future agenda items listed.
I probably did. Hang on just a second.
Library terrace update.
Oh, yeah,
We talked about the warrant schedule.
Yeah, we already talked about that today, actually, so I might not have to add that on there. Well, one thing is I will not be at the July 14th meeting. So that will be run by Megan and Michelle. We should have by the July meeting at least a draft of the warrant schedule, which we do for you. And that just, again, gives you a heads up on, boy, you have to come in on Thursday or Tuesday, whenever, to sign the warrants. Hopefully by August, we'll have some supplemental spending recommendations. We do not have any large projects coming up except for the terrace, but that's not using our existing supplemental spending from state aid. So I expect that the spending for FY26 outside the municipal budget will be fairly conservative. So I'll have something for you on that. Michelle will give you a meeting room use report update, and we will, if needed, look at the meeting room policy. I think as of today, we don't have any specific changes, but obviously that could change. And that's it.
Could we, at a future meeting, when you think it's a good time, get an update on the lockers? I think it would be nice
the
to have
lockers?
a
Oh, yeah.
little locker update.
Little locker update. Yeah, could do that. Maybe August would be a good time for that. Because that will give you a little time to maybe do a little PR, talk to Val, see what needs.
I think that number.
Okay. Yes, we will.
it just seems so low.
It does seem low. It does seem low. It probably is wrong.
And I'm not even reacting to the number. I feel like we get updates on lots of stuff and we haven't really had a locker update. in a
Yeah,
long
no,
time.
you're right.
It would
And
just
you're-
be nice to hear about the
to
lockers.
hear what's going on. And I do think PR has to be part of that, because this is something we specifically got
Mm-hmm.
in response to people who wanted self-service. And it's possible that we haven't reached out to those people who really want the self-service, so. And in the summertime, it might be different too, people on vacation stuff. So. Yeah, we'll put that on their agenda. And then I will also send out, at least to Cappy and to Pat, a list of all the policies, and probably just acknowledge the ones that we will likely look at in the next year. We don't have to look at every single policy every single year. Usually every 2 years is okay, but we've done a lot of changes in the last couple of years. So we might have a quiet policy year, which is okay.
Excellent. Thank you very much. If there's nothing else, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote. Kelly,
Yes.
Andrew Grimes,
Yes.
Andrew Gregory. Come back to Monette. Pat,
Yes.
I'm a yes. And one more for Andrew Gregory. I guess we have a quorum. It doesn't matter, right? I think we're good. I think he cares, right? Thank you all very much. We're adjourned.
Thank you.